Hi there, so I'm guessing from the title you have a pretty good idea what I'll be talking about today. If not, I'm gonna let you know I'm gonna be talking about clothing. So I decided to do a vlog on clothing because I used to be an intern for Christian Dior and I actually almost went into the fashion line, but I changed my mind about it and I decided to go into property and development line. With that being said, I'm still quite passionate about fashion. I still have a huge interest in it. And I thought, why not? I just want to do some research and some vlogging on it since it is one of my passion and it is one of my interests. So let's dive in on how the fashion industry impacts on the environment. Most people's perception of the fashion industry is that it is incredibly glamorous, and I definitely do think that it is quite a glamorous industry because these models, they're so pretty, they have really great bodies, and they get paid to do photo shoots all over the world, and they even get free clothes, so it's pretty amazing. However, there has been more debate and more talk about the negative side of the fashion industry. For example, child labor. Nike has come under fire previously for using sweatshops that involves child labor, and a lot of people weren't happy with that. There's also animal cruelty in the fashion industry for the promotion of fur. Anna Wintour, who's the chief editor of Vogue, she promotes wearing fur and she wears fur all the time. And of course, one of the greatest talks of the 21st century is consumerism, and the fashion industry definitely promotes consumerism because everything is about being fashion forward, it's about being out with the old and in with the new. These trends, they're changing faster than ever before because of the rise of fast fashion companies such as Zara and H&M. To give you an idea as to how fast these fast fashion companies are, so the typical fashion company would have a new collection every season, so that's 4 collections a year. But for a fast fashion company, they will have a new collection every 2 to 3 weeks. Because of this fast fashion and the promotion of consumerism, more and more clothes are being bought and more clothes are being donated. For instance, Goodwill Industries reported a 67% increase in its donated goods. Most of it is clothing. What's shocking is that Goodwill Industries' sale of donated goods to thrift shops account for more than $1.8 billion in 2006. A survey was conducted in 2006 as well by America's Research Group, and they found that 2.5 billion pounds of clothing were being donated. So that's really good because it's being recycled. However, that's only 15% of the total clothing being discarded in America. I don't think that's the most shocking thing that I found. I think the most shocking thing that I found during my research was a statement saying that the fashion industry is the second largest polluter in the world, second only to oil. The average pair of jeans require 1,850 gallons of water to process. For t-shirts, it requires 715 gallons of water. After the manufacturing process, the water ends up being incredibly polluted, which is why the textile industry is the second largest polluter in terms of clean water, the first being agriculture. In the last 2 decades, fashion retailers no longer locally produce their goods. Many of them are outsourced to countries in Asia. For instance, the American Apparel and the Footwear Association produce 75% of their goods in Asia, and it has an outsized effect on the people of Asia. Let's take a look at a city called Tirupur in India. In 2002 to 2012, American knitwear imports from India jumped from $571 million to $1.25 billion, and 56% of these imports come from Tirupur. In 2002 and 2003, a local university set up 3 camps to examine the health effects of the toxins that had been released into the river, and they found that 30% of the villagers suffer from symptoms such as problems with breathing, joint pains, and ulcer. All of these have been related to waterborne diseases. In 2007, there was also another study that was conducted by a local non-government organization, and they found that there were 729 dyeing units that were releasing 23 million gallons of water each day into the nearby river. Most of these are untreated wastewater. In the mid-2000s, the officials finally shut down the dam that was causing the wastewater to flow into these local rivers. And when they did shut it down, they found that there were 400 tons of dead fish at the bottom of the dam. Another example would be Central Asia. In the period of 1960 to 2000, the Aral Sea lost 70% of its volume due to the diversion of water to grow cotton in the desert. And that's just the effects of the production of textile on the environment. Although the process of making textile is a huge contributor to climate change, another major factor is the sheer amount of textile that's being produced. For instance, there are 1.5 billion jeans and cotton trousers produced in Bangladesh every single year. There are definitely some brands who are trying to take a step in the right direction. For example, H&M has committed to use only organic cotton or recycled cotton by 2020. Already they are the biggest user of organic cotton in the world. And you're probably wondering, why cotton? Well, cotton is the most pesticide-intensive crop in the world. In fact, these pesticides, they injure and kill people every single year. It also takes up a large amount of agricultural land that people need for food. And finally, herbicides and chemical defoliants are used to aid mechanical cotton harvesting, which add to the toll on the environment and on human health. These chemicals remain in the clothing even after processing, and they're being released during the lifetime of the garment. Although it is quite commendable for these companies to undo their actions or to take a step in the right direction, in some areas the damage has already been done. We would have to turn the clock 20 years back in order to undo the damage. An example of that would be the river in Turupur. Obviously, an action towards better change, towards better good, is definitely better than inaction. However, there aren't enough companies that are involved or participating in this change. Also, whether we like it or not, these companies' bottom line is to make high and attractive profits. In order for them to do so, they would have to continue to promote consumerism. That's why we're being promoted to buy things now, to buy things cheaper, and to buy things constantly. I feel like this consumerism and the production of textile that I've just talked about is just the surface of the fashion industry and how it's a major polluter. I haven't even touched on the transportation of the fashion industry. So to just give you a quick snapshot on how the transportation actually affects the environment as well, let's take a look at cargo garments and ship containers. While there aren't any actual numbers on how many ship containers these fashion companies use, we do know that one ship can release as many cancer and asthma-causing pollutants into the air that's equivalent to 50 million cars in 1 year. Also, these ships do not consume fuel by gallons, but by tons per hour. The shipping industry has definitely had a boom in the past 20 years, and the pollution that's caused by the industry is definitely affecting many coastal and inland regions around the world. Yet, the emissions of these ships are unregulated. As we can see, the making, the selling, and the marketing of a clothing garment is complex, and it definitely involves many factors, many processes, and many stakeholders. However, there hasn't been much of a progress for the betterment of the environment. Thus, our ultimate hope of increasing sustainability within the fashion industry now lies with the consumers. Consumers can contribute to increasing sustainability by using detergents that work well at lower temperatures, by extending their life wear of their garments, by buying less clothing, and by donating and recycling their clothes. Consumer awareness about the fate of a clothing through its life cycle may be the best hope of sustainability for the fashion industry. So I hope that that's been thought-provoking, and I'll see you in the next vlog. Cheers!